Check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast, your weekly source for a fun spin on all the news you need to know about. My name is Jacob Paveo, and as always, I come to you each and every Wednesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, fresh for you to download the entire world around. Of course, I come to you from the Great White North, where summer is in full swing. And been a long time without rain, so it was supposed to rain yesterday, actually, and we got a little bit, but then it stopped, didn't nearly get what we were supposed to get, and my grass is feeling it. That's really the most I can say. We need some rain, but for the time being, it is what it is. The weather is beautiful, nice beach and swimming weather, so I hope everyone, wherever you happen to be, you are able to enjoy the summer if you're in the northern hemisphere, or enjoy the winter if you're in the southern hemisphere, I guess. But ultimately, I hope you find a way to enjoy. If it's your first time checking out the podcast, thank you so much for clicking on it. You can, of course, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. You can also find me on social media. All the links you need are in the description for this podcast. Now, if you are listening from Canada, you know exactly what we need to talk about, because there is one thing that happened this past week that is must discuss, and that is the Rogers outage. But first, the internet service disruption. But first, I want to talk about something else, because for years, even in old shows, old radio hits and everything that I've done, I've talked about Shinzo Abe and his the longest serving Japanese prime minister, all the stuff he did for the country, and he was actually assassinated this past week, and I wanted to bring that up at the start of the show because it raises something that in the modern era, even though, you know, because of like TV and movies and whatnot, even though we have like a mild expectation, we know this can happen when a world leader, although, of course, he stepped down about 2 years ago now because of health reasons. But even still, like one of the most predominant figures on the global stage for well over a decade, he was, you know, the fact that he was able to be assassinated, and of course, there's other things we can discuss. Like this happened in Japan, where there are super strict gun regulations, and you know, the individual that pulled this off had to make the gun himself, and he test fired it himself, and there's a whole conspiracy reason behind why he did it. Like he's a conspiracy theorist and thought that Abe was tied to a church, and there's like all this craziness that you know. But I mean, you kind of have to be crazy if you're gonna assassinate a former politician of all things. He was speaking at a donation and platforming event for an up and coming a politician. By my understanding, of course, I'm only reading the English news, so you don't. You know, sometimes doesn't translate perfectly well, but it seems like he was giving a speech at some sort of political charity event. But ultimately, this is something that really we haven't seen in decades in the Western world. It's been a very long time since a Western leader was assassinated. And even elsewhere, it's not common. And the Japanese government came right out and said that they essentially were not prepared for this, and they're now reviewing their safety protocols and whatnot because they just became complacent, which, can, of course, happen. If you have no threats around you ever, complacency can form, and that seems like that's what happened in Japan. And unfortunately, like, this guy was able to take 2 shots at him, and after the first shot missed completely, 2 shots until he hit him on the second one, but after the first shot missed completely, Abe did not run like we've seen. There's a very popular video of Trump where there's a loud bang and the stage is swarmed with with Secret Service reps, and Trump is already like gone, like he's not hanging out to find out what's going on. But after the first shot, Abe like turns around to look, and he's like, it surprised him, like he was frightened or whatever by the noise, but his reaction was not to jump off stage, which, like any world leader that we see here in the West, they would be off that stage right away. But instead, he turned to look and was like trying to figure out what the sound was when the second shot went off and ultimately hit him and resulted in his death. And it's such a different thing, and it's so shocking to see that sort of thing can happen in a country like Japan, where it is viewed on the global stage as being truly the safest country when it comes to gun violence specifically, but violence in general. Japan is one of the safest countries. So it was shocking for the world to see, horribly tragic, of course. And ultimately, no charges have yet been laid. They have the guy arrested, and they're working out, what to do. But apparently they have 3 weeks before they have to place a charge in Japan. It's a little bit different than it is here. So here, like, they can only hold you for a few hours, right? But in Japan, they have 3 weeks they can hold you for an investigation involving a potential murder. So they are holding him, and I mean, obviously he did it. He admitted to it. It's on video. The police were able to apprehend him right away, but horribly sad to see. And hopefully, in my adult life, this is by far the most significant figure to be assassinated, right? We haven't seen, like, in my adult life, I have not seen a global leader assassinated on the job, right? It just hasn't happened, which is a good thing, obviously. There have been, I guess, some leaders of smaller nations, of course, which we've discussed on the show in the past, but nothing like this. So hopefully this is not going to be a thing moving forward, that people don't start suddenly getting ideas. But I wanted to start the show with that because Shinzo Abe, of course, one of the preeminent global leaders for the last really almost 2 decades, 15 to 20 years or so, that he's been extremely relevant on the global stage. So again, hopefully people don't get any ideas from this and this doesn't become a thing moving forward. And yeah, that's how I thought we should start the show. Just get that out of the way because it's quite sad news. But we need to discuss the Rogers service outage that affected Canada here on Friday. So I'm going to start with my day, okay? Because Fridays are usually my work from home day, and that was the plan on Friday. I was working from home, and I woke up, and there was some big things happening at work this week that I had to prepare for specifically on Friday. So I had a long to-do list, right? And I got up around 4:30 or 5, let the dog out, and my cell phone wasn't working, which I checked it saw that I had no service, but I thought it was because like I was downstairs. I was in the basement, so I figured, okay, whatever, my phone's not working. So I just plugged it back in, and I brought the dog outside. And I didn't bring the phone outside with me. I just left it inside. I wasn't really thinking about it. But I had also made changes to my internet and phone package the day before, literally the day before. So my package had been changed, and now I saw the phone wasn't working, and I thought, like, oh, maybe it's just like a refresh or something. Whatever, I don't need my phone. It's 5 a.m. There's no one to talk to. So I just put my phone down and went outside. Came back in, started my computers, because I have 2 when I'm working from home. And so I'm, just kind of waiting around and trying to log in. I use a specific VPN to access our work system. And, I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and it is spinning and spinning and spinning, and nothing's happening. And so I immediately thought it was me, and I spent 45 minutes trying to fix what I thought was a software problem related to my VPN. Couldn't figure it out. And I start work before everyone, so it's not even like I can call someone else at the company to be like, hey, I can't log in, like, what's going on, right? So that's like now 6:15, and then I spent about another 40 minutes, so it's like 7, and I'm like, man, I don't know what in the hell is going on. So I go to get my phone, see my phone's still offline, and I'm thinking that's weird. Then I go over to my modem, and that's when I realized, like, oh, there's a flashing red light, which means that my modem has no connection. So it's not getting any internet to broadcast. And now the Rogers internet system is based on the cable network. So it's like cable, like you plug into the back of your TV. That's how we get internet in Canada, at least. That's how Rogers distributes their internet service. So there's nothing I can do, right? Like, it's plugged right in to the cable, which goes right out to the street. So there's nothing in between. And obviously, the cable is not receiving an internet signal. So finally, I was able to talk to someone who had a work phone on the Bell network. And he was like, oh, yeah, like, Rogers is down. So it took me a very long time. And ultimately, the whole workday was lost for tons of people, and it left us with tons of questions as to how the hell did this happen again? Because some of you may have been impacted by this, but specifically it impacted Western Canada, although there was a few people in Eastern Canada that were hit by it. But on April 20th of this year, Rogers had lost connection for a number of customers. And last year, Rogers had a full day during one of the pandemic lockdowns where, because basically their system was overloaded with requests because of everyone working from home, and the system broke across the country, and it was down from 2 a.m. till 8 p.m. on that day. This time on Friday, it was down from around, for me anyways, it was down from around 4 a.m. it seems when it went down across the country, and we got our service back around 7 p.m. on Friday. So it wasn't down for as long, and a different reason, and that's what we're going to talk about is how did this happen, why is this happening, and why is it like a Canadian problem? And I think that's where I'm going to start, because Canada only has 2 telecommunications companies that matter, right? So whoever your phone is with, they either pay Rogers or Bell for their system usage. Rogers and Bell own all of our cellular networks. It doesn't matter who you're with. You are actually with either Rogers or Bell. Now, Bell's system historically speaking, in recent history, has been far more stable insofar as we have not seen Bell outages. However, Bell's system is far less widely available. So if you start traveling, especially to the north, the Bell system is not what you want. Rogers is by far the best phone network if you want vast coverage. And as someone who likes being out in the middle of nowhere and fishing and whatever, like, I need to be on Rogers because there are very few places where Bell exists that Rogers doesn't, but Rogers exists in a lot of places that Bell doesn't. So my phone is through Fido, who use the Rogers network. So it's important to know that, actually. Now everyone will know, because if your phone worked on Friday, your company is serviced through Bell, and if it did not, your company's serviced through Rogers. But it's something you should definitely look up when you're joining phone companies, because the service maps are one and the same. Generally speaking, there are companies like Freedom that only pay for a certain number of Bell towers. That's why they only work, like in the city kind of deal, which is fucking crazy. If you're on one of those networks, like, you're a crazy person. You need to go touch the grass sometime. But otherwise, it then raised the question for me, okay, like, what happened? And immediately, and I think everyone kind of jumped here, everyone that I've talked to, this is kind of what the feeling was this morning was, are we being hacked again? Because this has happened in the past where specifically North Korea was trying to hack the Canadian infrastructure systems because, of course, there's only two companies, and if you can take at least one of them down, like, you can shut down, a majority of the country, or at least half of it. And it happened when that Seth Rogen movie came out. What the hell is it? The Interview. Funny as hell movie, about them trying to assassinate the leader of North Korea. And yeah, so that's the last time that we're aware of that there was like a massive attempt to hack and take down one of those infrastructure systems. And at that point in time, it didn't really work. It was intermittent up and down or whatever, but it didn't really go offline. But that was the first thought, right? It's like when you have all of your communication systems shut down, that's like stage one of attacking a country, right? And we know how susceptible our system is because there's only these two telecom companies. And so it creates this very complicated relationship between the citizens here and our service providers, where when I find out like everything's offline, the first thing we think of is like, oh my god, it's being attacked, right? Not physically with bombs and missiles, but it is being attacked by some sort of hacking conglomerative. And so yeah, it was a very stressful morning because we didn't know. And now Rogers didn't even address the situation until 10 in the morning, 10 a.m. And at that point in time, they posted a tweet about it as if anyone could actually read their tweets. But, the news started rolling in like, oh, Rogers finally addressed the issue. And we were hoping they would tell us when it's coming back online or what happened, and they gave us nothing. They just said, we are working diligently, and if you had an appointment scheduled with a Rogers service technician today, they will not be coming to service your address. Please reach out to us at your earliest convenience to reset an appointment. So that's basically all that they said, was like, we're working on it. None of our technicians are coming to your house today because obviously they can't do anything. And until next time, thank you very much. So that's basically what they said. They said a whole lot of nothing. So a lot of people started getting pissed because we had no information. And what it rolls into is then you're getting into the afternoon. A lot of companies just like said fuck it for the day because they couldn't do anything. Like their full network infrastructure is down. A lot of people working from home drive into the office only to find, because they can't contact anyone, only to find out that the office is also down. I heard a few stories about that. And yeah, so basically half the country is getting nothing done all day, or got nothing done all day. Personally, I ended up working Saturday and Sunday this weekend because Friday was such a mess. So, it's the sort of thing that everyone across the country had to do. And then finally, later in the day, as everything started to, they figured out the problem. So the CEO of Rogers did an interview with I think it was City News, one of the Toronto-based news organizations. And essentially he said, we have identified the problem and begun fixing it, and service will begin coming back online. That's around 4 p.m. Now, like I said, for me, it came back online, towards 8 p.m., roughly, is when it came back online. And for some people, though, I know their internet didn't come back until like Saturday morning, like 3, 4 a.m. Then there's other people who didn't get their internet back until Sunday. It was down for 3 full days. It just depended on where you lived. Even like one street has internet and one street doesn't, right beside each other. So there's all these crazy stories coming out. But they still hadn't said yet what the problem was. And so Friday night, before everything came back, I went out to get my fish and chips because that's one thing that I enjoy. And I found when I walked in, so you couldn't pay by debit, and the entire debit system across the country relies on the Rogers network, so it was down. And the credit card system works on your local internet. So if they have Rogers, then it was down. So where I went to get fish and chips, I could not pay with my credit card. I had to use cash. And they had gone to buy a 1-month service thing with a tablet at Bell so that they could get online for Uber Eats, because they couldn't even get Uber Eats orders. So all this craziness, right? Costing all these companies tons of money who, even if like this restaurant that I go to, even if they were able to provide their service, they don't rely on the internet to cook, right? But they can't take transactions. They can't take digital orders. And then half the people can't place digital orders. So all these companies were just being slammed because of Rogers. Now, we've since learned the cause of the outage was a morning update that was scheduled, that they ran through, and the update caused modems at data hubs, not like the modem in your house, but like network modems in their data centers, to malfunction across the country, like everywhere. Not like in one small center, across the entire country. Whatever the software update they did made everything stop working. So that's what they're saying, and who knows how much of that is actually true, but they did eventually find themselves getting everyone back online, and now things have been spotty still. And ultimately, people are not happy, not happy at all, that it's continuing, right? It's still being spotty. Things have still dropped. I do know that some people were impacted by continuing outages into Monday. I've heard some folks trying to get their jobs done that can't work and stuff. So, it leads to the question of the long-term impact of this sort of large-scale infrastructure outage. Because there's not a single person that wasn't impacted, because even if you aren't on their system, even if you aren't using the Rogers network or relying on it through another company, you then can't contact anyone who is on the Rogers network, right? So even if you had a bell phone, you still couldn't call people because half the people couldn't be called, right? All because of, somehow they missed this when they were testing this software update or whatever the hell's going on. And it just blows my mind that we're here, right? This is the sort of thing that you expect these significantly large companies to, to get, to understand, to test, to ensure that you're not going to break everything, because they cost people tons of money. And then as of Wednesday morning, this morning, I woke up to the news that Rogers is going to be providing 5 days refund on all packages through them. So I haven't heard yet from my phone provider if there's going to be anything, but Rogers is providing a refund of 5 days for the outage, 5 days this month. So that's obviously going to cost them a shit ton of money on top of potential lawsuits, which of course this is trying to evade. But come on, man, like if there's companies that can prove that this caused them to lose money and Rogers' negligence led to, significant losses in some capacity, there's going to be lawsuits, man. And we're talking big money. Half of I think we're like the 7th largest economy in the world, and half of the country was offline for a day. Right? That's a lot of money. So who knows? I don't think we're going to see major lawsuits. I think Rogers will sort of settle those issues themselves out of court, because they do not want the public to be seeing this, to be involved in this, to be watching this. So I'm under the assumption that we're not going to see that, but you never know. That may be to come. We will, of course, stay updated on that, but hopefully we are through, not going to see it again. If you were offline on Friday like I was, hopefully, I don't know, I cleaned. That's what I did on Friday. I cleaned. I didn't leave the house because I was hoping to work, right? Waiting for it to come back online. So I just cleaned the house and everything. Hopefully you got something done too if you were offline, or sat around and enjoyed the day at home, or whatever the case may have been. You were able to hopefully get the most out of having the least as far as an internet connection is concerned. But that's going to be it for this week. Thank you so much for checking out this and all the other episodes. Of course, as we get through the end of summer, episodes are going to start getting longer once again, getting more meat and potatoes issues to discuss. But the summer break for politics makes things kind of quiet, which is nice. Enjoy your summers. I'm certainly enjoying mine. Consider it a break of sorts. And yeah, I hope each and every one of you enjoyed and perhaps learned something from the episode this week. But thank you so much. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. You can tell your friends and family all about the episode. Word of mouth is, of course, the best, but you could share the screenshot of the podcast playing on your phone, or just send the link to your friends. That would be awesome. Thank you all so, so much for your continued support. And until next time, keep evading those bullets. Keep enjoying the warm sunshine. Keep on laughing. And keep on learning.